Joining us now live via Zoom is Joseph Quintana, member of the Kiowa tribe and Vice President of Development for the United American Indian Involvement Organization. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
As we just heard in the piece, this is not a day of joy and celebration. This is a national day of mourning for many Native American people. Why is it important to share this narrative? Oh. We can't hear you. Can you put on, maybe press unmute?
Really is a time for us to be thankful, of course, for everything that we have, but also realize that there are things that we don't have. And I think for us within the Native community, what we don't have is continued build trust, especially within our non-Native members. There's a great deal of misconceptions around Thanksgiving. And we, of course, look back at the truth of what our history has been as a nation and the way that it's treated its first original inhabitants of this land.
You know, Joseph, I was reading that since 1970, the Native American community have held a national day of mourning on Thanksgiving. Tell us about that.
It really is a time to reflect. We know that over the 500 years of coexistence of this land, that American Indians have always tried to be as connected to our non-Native partners. But what we've noticed and seen that it's often been met with a history of violence and eradication, especially in it being wrong to be a Native person on these lands. We've seen that with the original history of the Wampanoag people, and we have to stand in solidarity with them. American Indians have always continued to forgive every way that we can, but at some point we have to say we're not going to accept it anymore, and we have to be truthful and honest as far as what the history has been.
Right. Your organization services over 200 tribes here in Los Angeles County. Talk to us about this community. How diverse is it? How big is it?
Many Angelenos don't know this, but Los Angeles has the largest and most diverse population of American Indians anywhere in the United States for any large metropolitan city, providing services from members from over 200 different tribes. That's different languages, different cultures, different historical perspectives. Oftentimes, it's very difficult for everyone to agree or define one perspective on any key issue. But what we have to do is be that inviting space for those Native peoples who have often felt on the outskirts, been felt disenfranchised from the major public on any issues that impact our community.
What is one thing, Joseph, that folks can do this Thanksgiving to honor the Native American community?
We know that the COVID-19 crisis has brought to the forefront many of the inequalities that continue to impact all of our peoples. And we've seen that throughout the United States, how many different issues continue to impact all of us. Most importantly, it's also brought to forefront the epidemic of racism, that we can't just slide under the rug what we've always thought can be the stereotypes and racism that impact all of our peoples. And so for us, we need to be able to be as truthful as we can with the history. For American Indians or America's first people to be U.S. citizens for less than 100 years, for us to barely have the authority to have an impact what happens to our children for less than 45 years, or for us to practice our religions freely for less than 45 years. I think America really needs to come to that understanding, but we have an opportunity to really make a difference right now. If there's ever a time in history to make change, it's now.
And when you talk about, what we can do to help effort that change, what is the number one thing we can do? I mean, we've heard during COVID, life on the reservation has been really challenged. We have addictions, we have access to health care, access to just work. It's very challenging still for Native Americans. What can we do?
It's definitely a tremendous uphill battle, and where many other people have been faced with a glass ceiling, we've been faced with a concrete ceiling. We can't even realize many of those dreams others take for granted. And so definitely opportunities of supporting Native causes, but being able to humble yourself and not say, hey, I know how to lead your people, rather saying, how can I be the one to help you get over those humps or over those obstacles that have kept you from achieving the goals that you want to achieve as a people.
Joseph, we thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing this important narrative with us. We will remember you on this day and all the things that this community, these great Native American tribes, deserve. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you, Joseph.
All right,
Thank you all. Be safe.
Thank you. You too. You too. And for more information or to support LA's Native community, visit uai-i.org right there on your screen. We'll be back.